Hello, NTCSL parents. For those of you who don't know me very well, I'm Sarah Forbes. I'm your Youth and Family Ministry Director, and some of you have watched my videos before and they have been catered towards your children, and today this video is just for you. And I decided to make a video on how to talk to our kids about race and racial violence because I've received a lot of feedback that doing research and going through the resources can be tough for parents and overwhelming, and a lot of parents don't know where to start. So I thought I would make a very quick, easy, and accessible video to point you in the right direction. And so I've been doing a lot of research recently, given the events that have surfaced around deaths of Black Americans, and obviously this is something that has been going on for a very long time, but we are now getting a chance to see it and to really be a part of something significant. We're getting a chance to be part of a significant movement for change and for change for the better. And in order to dismantle systemic racism and to dismantle racial violence, we really need to start by bringing these hard conversations into our home. It's imperative. And so this type of education and these types of conversations start in the home. So I want to be a part of that and I want to help. And so I'm really just going to talk about a few key points to bring up in where to start. And if you have questions or if you feel that I missed something, I am not an expert and I am still learning. And I've only been researching this for a few years off and on. And so I welcome all critiques. I welcome all questions. So please reach out to me if you feel like you need me to talk more about something or if you feel like I missed something. So the first key point that I want to bring up is when you're talking to your children about race and racial violence is to validate their feelings. That is key point number one. So one of the ways to do this is to open up a space for them to share their feelings, right? Because you may be saying, well, they don't tell me their feelings. So one of the ways we can do this is going to our children and actually creating a space for them to share their feelings. And based on the research I've done, the best way to do this is to ask them a very broad question about their feelings that pertains to race or racial violence, and then give them space to answer honestly and openly. So an example would be, how did you feel about what you saw on the news? Or how do you feel about what you learned the other day about this person or that person? And so you're asking a very broad question and you're leaving it open for them to discuss their feelings with you. And when they do share their feelings, research also suggests that part of validating them is to simply listen, and in that moment not try to fix or not try to step in with advice in that moment. Just give them a space to share their feelings and then honor their feelings. Sometimes I feel scared too. Sometimes I feel angry too. So you can validate their feelings in this way by sharing the experience with them. The next key point is to make sure that you don't avoid talking about race and racism in the home. So it's important to actually seek out and make an effort to have these conversations. So based on, again, the research that I've done, it's never too early to start talking about race in the home. Most research suggests that at a very, very young age, children already start to recognize racial differences. And if parents are not talking to their children about race, then very small children start to formulate their own opinions about race and racial differences, and they potentially can be harmful. So it is actually really important in order to dismantle systemic racism and to change racism and to move in a direction for good and for justice for all, to actually start in the home by making sure that you address it and talk about it. So one of the things that you want to do first is commit to educating yourself. If that sounds overwhelming, just little by little educate yourself so that you can share what you're learning with your children, and make it a point to seek your children out and actually share what you're learning with them. So the other thing that I want to say is some of our children are very little. Like I have have a 3-year-old at home, or a 4-year-old, or a 5-year-old. So, another helpful way to share with them how, what's going on and not avoid talking about it is to do it through books, through stories. You can do it by doing a puppet show. You can do it with their toys. You can take a bunch of their different toys and act out a scene in which you bring to light that maybe one toy is a different race or a different color, and then maybe this other toy that is white treated that other race poorly, and then you would want to bring in how that's wrong and how that's bad. So that brings me to my second point, or my third point, I'm sorry, which is that we need to be clear and direct, and we need to be factual when we're talking to our children. So we don't want to say things like, sometimes some groups of people are not kind to other groups of people, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. We want to make sure to be kind to all people. While that's a beautiful message and it's not bad in and of itself, you can of course say things like that. When we're trying to dismantle racism and address racism, what we want to do is be very direct. So we would actually want to say to our kids that people of color in our country, people who are black or brown or other colors in our country who are not white, are sometimes not treated fairly, and that's not okay. Sometimes they are physically hurt, and that is also not okay. So we want to make sure that we're being very direct and very clear. We don't want to tiptoe around the issues. We actually want to call the issues out and be very, very clear about it. So that is my third point. And in that third point too, it's also important that you continue to educate yourself, even little by little. This will help so much because you can bring that education into what you're being direct about. And part of that too is sharing racial history. So we want to make sure to share our history of our country, the racist history of our country. We want to make sure our kids are aware of that. This is imperative in dismantling racism. So if you don't know a lot about it, I suggest learning a little bit about it here or there, or reaching out to support or for support. Maybe you have a friend or a family member who does know a lot about it. Have them contact you and your child and spend some time learning about it. So that's going to bring me to my fourth point, which is to encourage questions. So you might share things with your kids and you want to open it up to questions. And it's okay if you don't know answers. That's actually beautiful. Your kids might ask you questions that you don't have the answers for, and that's okay. I'm already knowing that that's going to happen with me and my kids. And what you want to do is suggest, well, let's find that answer together. Maybe you have a person you can go to who can answer that for you. Maybe you guys, or you both of you, can search on the web together to figure out what the answer is. Maybe you can sit down together and read a book and find out the answer. But the point is to encourage questions and then seek out the answers together if you don't know the answers already. And my last and final point is, and this one is so important, is to keep the conversation open. This is not just a one-time conversation. It's important, and research shows that in order to really ingrain the message and to really make sure that we are doing our part as parents to help dismantle systemic racism, we have to keep the conversation going. Keep bringing it up. Keep buying books that talk about it. Keep playing with toys in a way that helps to educate your children. Keep being direct. Keep presenting new facts as you learn them. And so you want to keep it open. And so after your first conversation, make sure to let your child or your children know that we're going to be talking about this again. So I welcome, any ideas or questions that you might have. And if you ever want to talk about it, please let me know. So that's a way to kind of make sure that you plan to continue talking about it, and also to make sure that you create a space in which your child can talk to you about it as well. So those are my main key points out of all the research that I've done. In the email that I sent to you, I put a bunch of resources at the bottom of the email that can help you further. And I know, again, as a parent, I'm someone who is incredibly busy. I know it can feel overwhelming, but even if you just do a little bit each week, it's better than nothing in terms of educating yourself. And if you want, you can embark on the journey with your child or with your children, and you can learn together if it's appropriate for the age of your child. So Again, any questions, anything I missed that you feel is just pressing, please reach out to me. These were the key points that I felt were important based on the research I've done that I wanted to share with you all today. And I just want to empower you all to be part of this movement that we are now seeing, this important civil rights movement that we are seeing. I want to empower all of you parents to be a part of it and to feel as comfortable and as confident as possible in talking to your kids about what's happening. I'm learning and I'm moving into that confidence more and more, and I'm also knowing that I might say something that's wrong, I might say something that's offensive, and that's okay. I need to be open to learning how I'm wrong and learning how I might be offensive. I need to be open to that in order to be part of the solution. So I invite you into that same space as well. I miss seeing all of your faces, and I just wish you the best and many blessings and much love. Thank you.